A few days ago we had the patch with all the buffs and nerfs, and it changed up quite a bit in the meta. No longer is half the meta Druid, instead we got quite a bit more variety than that. So in this video we'll be going over all the best decks for you to climb with to Legend. And if you want to copy these decks, the codes will be in the description. Now let's get started with the first deck, and it looks like this deck is the best. It's a bit above the rest. It is the no Minion Demon Hunter or the Spell Demon Hunter, and this is just so strong because it just relentlessly pushes that damage, and without a lot of healing in the meta, it kind of just wins. And even if you have healing like Priest, then you can actually just OTK in the late game with like double Lasting Legacy and Broxigar. So yeah, it's kind of strong at every point in the game and doesn't really have any clear weaknesses. Now the new card that's running here is the Nespra Enthralled. So yeah, fun new card. And you can use that nicely to like ping off minions from the opponent, or just push 5 damage with it and then get that Nespra, the 6/6, and then potentially get more minions with that on board. And even though the deck says no minion, you definitely can get quite a few minions. Now we're not playing the Solitude though, because we also don't have that many minions, and we don't really want to spend 3 mana to maybe get good minions, right? We just want to push that damage constantly. So that's kind of what the deck is made for. And yeah, if you were trying to push to Legend, this is the best deck to play with. Now another deck that's great to climb with is the Dragon Warrior. That is probably not very surprising, but this time it looks like the Dragon Herald build of it looks to be the best. So no longer a full Dragon build like it was last patch. So you can play a bit slower. The meta slowed down a bit, I think. So having a bit more late game with the Herald build looks to be better now, because we have that Ragnaros, of course, that is like 16 damage instant, and then Death Rattle another 16. You got the Deathwing, so you always have the late game extra damage, and then just some Herald cards with the Death Rattles to well boost boost that Ragnaros and Deathwing. And besides that, just playing the good dragon cards, of course. I mean, got the 1-drop, the Peddler to Snowball. We got the 1 mana 4/3 here, the new card, the Slither Drake, of course. Even when nerfed, it's still a good card. So yeah, another strong deck if you want to climb to Legend. And the third deck we have here is the Herald Shaman, and yeah, this deck got 2 nerfs, and yeah, it's probably good it got those nerfs because it's looking still quite strong even with those nerfs. And yeah, what it does is just to snowball pretty fast, especially if you're going first in the game. It's extremely strong because then you get the Herald cards, right? They're like Flame Tongue Tonans sometimes. They're really good at snowballing and buffing your eggs, the frog here even, yeah, your other minions. It's just really good once you get ahead. And then even if you lose the board, you've got the Merithra for the late game, and yeah, the Merithra plus the Deathwing is incredibly strong. That beats almost any slower deck with just the damage, right? It's 16 damage if you haven't upgraded the weapon yet or any other buffs. Just the Deathwing plus the High King's Hammer. We're also running 1 egg in case you face some egg decks or something, and this deck is just a really good all-around deck to climb with. And the fourth deck we have here is another Herald deck. So yeah, Herald decks got quite a bit better with the patch. And this one, technically, yeah, it got buffed here with the Monarch Follower. Definitely a nice buff. I don't think it was needed, but it does help. Even though it looks small, having 1 extra attack, you know, you might be able to push a couple more points of damage, get a better trade. It really adds up. And yeah, while it was playable before the patch, now it's actually looking like a good deck, because it can really do some crazy things with those heralded cards, especially once you get a couple with Sinestra. Sometimes you can just make a full board in 1 turn of Sinestra, like turn 7 or something. That is pretty incredible. I've done it before, and yeah, that's just can definitely win games. Could even win games against Druid before the patch. We've also got the Twilight Mistress, the new card, and yeah, this is super strong. You can cheat it out with the Narrowlex, but yeah, by itself, just resetting the board for your opponent, like they have a full board, nope, and it's gone, and they have to replay it all. That's super strong to stay on board, or stay ahead on board. I'm also running Garona. I see sometimes people say, should I really run this card? And yeah, how good is Garona? Now, Garona is not a good card, okay? Like, this is not usually cards you want to be playing unless you're like certain that your opponent has like King Lane in hand, or you really have no other option. Mostly it's just there for the other 2 cards, because King Lane is really bad. Like, you think Garona might be a bad card, well, King Lane is 10 times worse. And then the Kingslayers is just a good card as well. And it also means that yeah, you have 1 less card in your deck, which is great, because that means you're more consistently drawing your other cards that you want. So that's why you're playing Garona. Just a good card, even though the card itself doesn't feel that great. Then we have the end of Turn Paladin, and I think this one is maybe going a little bit under the radar, but it's putting up some really good stats right now, so it looks like an excellent choice to climb with. Now it has the aura stuff as well from before the patch, right? We got the Galvin, we got the auras here, and also we're playing the new cards of the flight maneuvers. Now don't underestimate this card, especially if you can combine it. Now it can sometimes be difficult to combine maybe with some of these expensive cards here, but yeah, even without it combining, like giving your board Divine Shield can just be pretty good. But as the name indicates, it's an end of turn paladin, so we're playing those end of turn effects like the Inspiring Maul, like the Send Fear Aura, and what you then want to do is either hit it with the Spearheart Sentry, or especially if you get it with Nose Dormo, like have one or two other minions on board, that is incredibly strong, because that means your board gets +9/+9 and Divine Shield, all of your minions, if they don't already have Divine Shield, of course, if you have that Send Fear up with the Inspiring Maul, because then you trigger it 4 times, and yeah, very few decks can deal with that, so that is something you might want to try and set up. Definitely the strong point of this deck, and the reason why this deck is called the End of Turn Paladin. And here we have the Aggro Hunter. It didn't get nerfed with Confront 12 here. And I think this easily could have gone to 4 and it still would be a good deck. It didn't happen. And yeah, it's not really an outlier. So maybe, yeah, it didn't actually need that nerf. But it's still a good deck though. And it's a good one to climb with. It's obviously really fast. You want to vomit those 1-drops. And then repeat them with that Tolv here. And then we got some other good legendaries. I mean, you got Gen, because you barely have even cards, just some 2-drops that you want to get rid of. And if you get to do that though, that 3 damage hero powerful one really puts a clock on the opponent. So that can be very strong to just keep putting up the pressure on top of all the damage cards you have here. Now, one card this deck is running that is maybe a bit weird is the Urban Roar. Actually, the stats looked quite good on this. I was surprised. But if you think about it, you know, if there's a big minion, you can easily clear it. Now, with this deck might otherwise struggle with that. And it's quite easy to clear, right? We got stuff like Woundprey or all the other damage cards. And then with Tolver, it also gets recast. So then maybe your opponent has another big minion. Well, you clear it again with that Tolver. So that's why it's there. So let me know how this card worked out. I haven't really seen it before, but the stats showed it. It might be good. So that's why I put it here. And overall, Hunter, just still a good deck to climb with. Then the second warrior deck we have here is the Egg Warrior, and yeah, it's looking pretty good in the stats, though it's not getting played a whole lot. Might just be because yeah, if you get hexed on that egg, or it gets like stolen by a warlock, yeah, you're not having a lot of fun, because that egg is your only win con. There's no other way to win with this deck, and yeah, this just works like the egg decks that you know, right? You want to play the egg on 3, pop it as soon as possible, and then you play Umbra on turn 7. Now we also got the Nablian here. Now you can copy an egg, or even a 2020, right? Maybe you pop the egg, then you hit with the weapon, and then you get a 2019 with Rush. That can be pretty powerful, so that is why that card is there. And we also have the new card Decimation, because yeah, what's better than killing your eggs and killing the opponent's board? Yeah, this card does both, especially after Umbra. That is quite strong, and yeah, besides that, yeah, just the egg deck. I mean, nothing special about it. Then we have another Herald deck. This time it's the Herald Demon Hunter, which got quite a big boost from this patch. Was kind of unplayable before, now it's definitely playable. And just like the Spell Demon Hunter, this deck just can push a ton of damage. I mean, obviously with that Jara, you got already the 16 damage. And you potentially even get more damage with any other weapon buffs. And yeah, just like Spell Demon Hunter, this deck has a pretty low curve. We only have the 3 big Herald cards basically at the top end, because you just want to draw fast through your deck, get all those cards. No need to run the 5-drop, the Envoy, because that's just a little bit too slow. You just want to get quickly those 4 cheaper Herald cards, and then yeah, play that Jar, and then usually you win the game, because this deck just pushes so much damage, just like the Spell Demon Hunter. But it's a little bit weaker, because yeah, those early game Herald cards, they're pretty slow, right? Getting like 1 attack with 1 lifesteal for 2 mana. Not exactly the strongest, but yeah, once you get to the late game, this deck just has tons of burst to win the game. So yeah, if you want to play with Minions and Demon Hunter, this is the choice. Then we have the one quest deck on this list, and it's the Quest Mage. And yeah, you can see here this deck has quite a low curve as well. We're not running any big spells like the 7 mana spell. Now I played this deck, and yeah, it makes sense that you're not running the 7 mana spell, because often you're just really struggling to even complete the quest and play it before you die. And then after that, you have kind of good enough cards anyway to get on board. We got like the Treacherous Tormentor, the Stoner Defender. I mean, those are quite good enough in the late game, even the Scrappy Scavenger. All those cards get just a ton of stats on the board, and with limited amounts of removal, you don't really need that crazy late game that you could have with the quest. You just want to get to the quest as soon as possible, play it, and then start doing the quest stuff. And that's why there's the low curve. And yeah, that's pretty much the game plan with this. Just rush the quest, play the quest, and then get those rewards from all the discover cards. So a decent choice if you want to climb the ladder and want to have some random fun. And the second mage deck here we have in a row is the Burn Mage. Now this deck is all about the QcAAA because the difference between drawing this on 4 and not having it is pretty huge. And as you probably would have guessed from the name, it's all about burning. Though in the beginning, in the early game to the mid game, you kind of want to just play those minions first, right? Stack up on those damage spells. So you got some 1-drops, we got the 2-drop here, we've got the Raincaller. Because it is kind of difficult actually to clear 4 health. I kind of underestimated this card. We got the Bookkeeper to draw. And then once you've played those minions, you got those damage spells. You want to go in, push that damage to the opponent with either that QcAAA or with the Time Twisted Seer. Like this is really strong 2 spell damage. Makes any spell card insanely good. Like with Arcane Barrage, right? It's 5 and double 4 damage. Or the Arcane Flow suddenly becomes a huge AoE and burst to the face, like it's a Pyroblast with 2 spell damage. That can be insanely powerful, though. This deck is a little bit draw dependent because if you get it in the wrong order, right, all those burst spell early, it's kind of hard to win without the minion damage. But still a solid choice to climb the ladder with if you're looking to play a burn deck. Then we're getting to the category of decks that aren't the greatest to climb with. You definitely can, but you have to put a bit more effort into it than say with a spell demon out there. First up, we have the Dragon Druid. I did climb a bit myself with this deck, and yeah, it worked out decently well. The new cards in this deck are really strong. Obviously, you know that Treant is good, but also the Brood Watcher. You really want to try and get this card down on turn 4. That's just a ton of stats, and that helps you survive to the late game. The late game of Merithra mostly. Getting a handful of 1-mana dragon is just insane tempo with it. And then, yeah, again, decks don't have great removal, so yeah, even if you get weaker dragons, there's a lot of weak dragons with this. Don't just expect like a handful of 10, 10, 12, 12 kind of dragons. But with those 1-mana dragons, you can keep pressuring the opponent. And then usually they just can't really deal with like the 4-12 here, another 4-12, and those big dragons that you might get off Merithra. And then also we're running the Fire Egg because we're running the Herald, so we don't just have Ysera to cheat out, we also have the Fire Egg. So yeah, this seems like the best Druid deck right now. Imbue Druid seems not viable anymore. It kind of fell off. But yeah, maybe it deserved it after yeah, dominating the meta last patch. And we have our 5th Herald deck. This time it's the Herald Warlock. Although it's saying Herald, but really more an Egg Warlock that's just playing Herald cards to make that egg work. We're not playing like Deathwing or Traxion or Cho'Gall, all that stuff. Yeah, the Herald card just there to pop that Egg of Kalos, just like with the Warrior or the Egg Warlock before. So really play it with that in mind. It's just an Egg Warlock, and it just plays the same as before, right? Get the egg on 3 preferably, and kill the egg by turn 7, and on turn 7 you play that Endbringer Umbra, you get a huge board, you win the game. Now one thing this deck is also running is the Possessed Animenster to cheat out the Asphyxiodon, just an extra way to use that Herald and just stay alive, because then you get a huge 6/12 beast with lifesteal that also deals 5 and then heals you for 5, so it just lets you survive for a bit longer, lets you use your Herald cards more, and enables you to actually win the matches like against the Aggro Hunter. And then we're getting to the last 2 decks, and these last 2 decks are not the greatest, but I know people want to play these decks. I can see it in the play rates. They're pretty popular, and yeah, the first one we have here is the Herald Death Knight, and this deck is kind of struggling a bit because it's really lacking good board clears. Yeah, you can play Pyromancer Poison, but yeah, you need both cards, and by themselves they're not very good. And then yeah, you're just stuck with those cards often, you're not developing. So you could play it. It's kind of hard to see what really was the right build for Herald, because everybody was playing like different decks, so it was kind of difficult to find a build. This seemed to me like the best build right now, though I'm sure there's going to be slightly different builds better later on. Now, obviously, what you want to do with Herald, right, is play those Herald cards. The newly buffed Obsessive Technician is really good. Like the extra attack really makes a difference, though. I think it would have been better to make this 3 mana, because as you can see here, like this deck is really lacking that early game. We got Morbid Swarm, Infested Breath as the only 1 or 2 mana cards, because yeah, all the other cards that you can put here just aren't that great, and that's it's a little bit sad. Also, no board clears, right, like Corpse Explosion to come back, so that's why this deck is really struggling. So yeah, once you get that Herald cards, you get to Onyxia, and yeah, once you get that Onyxia down with 4 Heralds, it's really strong, the deck. You get so much health, so much tempo, But yeah, getting to that point is really the difficult part here. Now we're also running the Memorial Manifest. I'm not entirely convinced by it because, again, it's pretty difficult to actually already get to Onyxia. But once you get to Onyxia, this card really makes sure that you win with that Onyxia because, again, lack of removal means that the decks just don't really do well with the triple Onyxia. So if you want to play Herald DK, something like this list is probably what you want to be playing. But yeah, it's still kind of a struggle to really climb with it. But I just wanted to put here because I know people want to play this deck. And just like with Death Knight, this is another deck that people want to play. It's the Control Priest, like the only control deck in this meta, and it's kind of questionable how good it is because yeah, the stats aren't very good on it. And I made this build because this seemed like the stats-wise the best cards that you want to put in your deck. Now it isn't running the Intertwined Fate, as you can see here, because it's just kind of a slow card, right? 3 mana, get a card from your deck that you might not even want. Often, yeah, you spend it and then you just don't get what you want. Or you get a card from your opponent that's also kind of useless, right? Like a Herald card. You don't really care about that. So that's why I cut it. But yeah, that does make it a bit less fun. But I think this is the one that's probably best to, if you want to try and climb with it. Though I might try and put Intertwined Fate back in the deck myself, because it's a pretty fun card. And we are playing 2 of the buffed cards here in Moonwell and the Black Blood. Black Blood actually seems not too bad in terms of the stats, and seems like it might just be worth running, because especially with the Cleric, right, you get like 5 heal 3 times, or even 7 heal if you play 2 Clerics. And in Moonwell now actually also seems worth running, because you just want to have more AoE. This one also heals you again with that Cleric. What a card this is. Gets even better to heal. You heal your minions if you have some, and you kind of need this AoE as Priest to stay alive. And yeah, staying alive is a big problem. Despite all the healing in this deck, it's still pretty clunky. It's still a struggle to get to turn 10, but yeah, once you get to turn 10, once you get Atiyesh up, you're in a really good spot. So that's yeah, what you want to aim for in most games. And then if you have Atiyesh equipped, don't forget you can OTK with the deck. Because if you play double Cleric, it's quite a big setup for it. But if you have double Cleric, you play double Ruby Sanctum, and you have Atiyesh up, your Flash Heal, and your Purifying Breath. Also, don't forget, you have to kill the minion with this. I know some people forget about it, but you actually have to kill a minion. But then both of these cards deal 18 damage, and then yeah, if you have 2 of them, you have 36 damage. And that just wins most games. So keep that in mind. That's a really good thing for those late game matches to actually win the game, because you can't really rely on those imbues to win the game. So overall, yeah, Priest, really fun deck. I'm gonna play it a lot, but yeah, not really the best option to climb with. And those are all the decks I got for you today. As always, the codes will be in the description. Now, if you want to see me play these decks, I'll be streaming it live here on YouTube and on Twitch throughout the week. I hope the video was helpful. If it was, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and until next time.